Well, we are taking a short leave from the actual fabrication, if you will. And we're gonna go get the corn planter out. We've got a bunch of work that we're gonna go ahead and do to it. Sarah's gonna run over to the barn that we have the planter parked in. I'll run over and meet her over there. And we'll get the corn planter home here, and we have a bunch of parts that we are gonna throw into it. So, we'll join up with you when we get over to the barn that we have the corn planter parked in. Alright, she's backed up to it. Now we just gotta raise it up just a little bit. A little more. Little more. Little more. You might have to come back a little bit. That's gonna work. Go right up with it. Click, click. Yep, right up. All the way. Alright, pull out real slow. We're just grabbing and going. We're not going to hook up any hoses or anything. And so first I see the tires. The tires are all good. A little bit of a tight doorway. The guy that used to own this farm, his biggest tractor was a 4020, and my uncle has that tractor. It's actually a twin to the 4020 that we have. Side console, and this door is only 16, is it 16 foot wide or is it 14? So we'll get her out the door. I'll get these doors closed up, and actually I probably should hook the wire harness in for the lights. I'm just gonna hook the wire harness in for the lights. Ah, which plug is it? It's this one right here. Bingo, we've got lights. Guys, I'll hook up the isobus cable too, just so that doesn't drag on the road. We just want to grab and go. We don't want to waste too much time here, you know? Time is precious. right, everything else is good. We're gonna get the doors closed up and we're gonna send her on her way. Tires are up. They're good. Well, we are just about ready to hit the road here. Sarah did not want to drive this back. She backed in, got it hooked up. I thought she was gonna be good to go, but she did not want to take this back to the farm. So, like I was saying, this is only a couple miles away from the farm. We're gonna get this back there. We've got to get a spot cleaned out in the shop. Got to get all of our parts laid out, and then we will get to working on this corn planter here. This tractor's been on the manure pump a few times this winter, and we got some manure speckles on the window. They ended up washing this tractor the other day. However, the windows need a washing. We've got mud on the inside of the windshield. And the reason why there's mud on the inside of the windshield is because these pigs want to open up the back window and leave it open when they're pumping manure. So maybe I ought to have them wash some windows. But that's what you deal with. So we'll get this back to the farm and we'll join up with you once we get to working on it here. Well, we are into the following afternoon now. We went and got this planter out after we got done painting the flatbed for my uncle, and we got this shop freed up now, and we just backed the corn planter inside and we're going to start working on it here. So we've got all the parts in next door here in multiple crates and boxes and everything else here. So we're just going to start taking parts off, get it all stripped down, and then we will start adding on the new parts here. You ready? There's 434 pages to the instructions on how this all goes together.
Is that what I need to do?
Yeah. So, we're going to get it tore down. We'll touch base with you throughout this project here. This is going to be somewhat of a boring series here, adding parts to this planter, but it is what it is. So we are going to get going here. All right, we have gotten about as far as we're going to go on this tonight. We've gotten up to the point where we can start picking the actual row unit itself off. We had to remove the hoppers. We pulled all of the seed tubes. We've unhooked the wire harnesses going to each and every row. We've got that unhooked. We ended up taking all of the cable drive units off. There's a wire that goes to the clutch on it, and there's another wire that comes down into the seed tube that does your, it senses whether or not the planter is planting or not. And then we had to pull the counter shaft that runs all the way across the planter. There's, I think it does 6 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rows. There's a long shaft that does the 6 here, the 6 on that other side, and then there's a couple of short shafts that do 2 rows each on the main frame. We had to pull those shafts so that we can pick these row units off. They're just U-bolted to the toolbar itself. We've got the air lines unhooked from the airbags, and the shaft kind of ran through the middle. Now we could have taken these bolts here out, left the main angle iron frame on there, but the new row units themselves are new from the tool carrier back. So everything here, the frame would sit here, new from there back. Now you might be asking, why are you doing all this work? Well, we are, for the most part, wore out up to this point. We have replaced bolts and bushings in these lateral frames, this H frame, whatever you want to call that. We've already done that, and we've got quite a bit of wear. We're going to have to replace, we would have to replace all these metal arms. You can kind of see the twist in that one there. Down on the end here, there was a bushing that's ate right through this airbag bracket. What else have we got here? We have a considerable amount of wear in these closing wheel frames. Now again, we have replaced the bolts and the bushings before already. However, it's gotten to the point now where the metal is wore out. Another thing that is wore quite a bit is all of these arms going to the gauge wheels. You could see the amount of slop in that arm right there. I flipped them over to where they come up to this, this little stopper foot here. So the camera just shut off there for no reason, so I'm going to back up about a minute or so. So this might not, this is going to overlap a little bit, but I'm going to edit it best I can. So at any rate, these arms coming down to the gauge wheel, they are sloppy. You can see the movement in it, tipping back and forth. Now, that's not horrible, but what it does is it gets binding on here, and what it'll do is it will adjust itself. It'll automatically move itself in and out, and we end up putting too much soil back down into the trench, because if this gauge wheel is riding away from the seat opener disc itself, it'll let soil come in on top of the trench, and it doesn't give you accurate. So, and another thing that we have wore out on these row units themselves is the framing where it comes down into the seat opener disc, and I'm afraid that we're going to start breaking the actual hub that is welded into the frame. And on top of that, we've got some plastic hoppers that are cracked, some lids that are cracked. So it was either do this work now or rebuild everything, put all new metal on, be taking everything apart and putting it all back on, and then we wouldn't be doing, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now. We are going from pneumatic downforce, which that's what these airbags are. Years ago, there didn't used to be anything for down pressure on the actual row unit itself. Then they put a little spring in there, just a little coil spring that would give you added downforce, if you will. And then they went to a different spring design on I think it was maybe the 7200 planters and up, and then they went to pneumatic downforce, which our old planter had an air compressor up on the front hitch. You had to preset what you wanted your down pressure to be and run with it. This has active downforce. In other words, it's got a compressor right in between the two tanks, and you could set it for the parameters that you wanted it to work within, and it would automatically adjust itself. In other words, it would deflate the bags, and then it would also air them back up. What the new row units are going to have is hydraulic downforce. It's just one tier above what this system here is. The beauty with the hydraulic downforce is you can run with negative pressure. We have 3 bushel bins. We're running right around 150 to 160 pounds of seed. A lot of guys don't even run 150 pounds of force on the row unit. We get into real sandy, soft conditions. We can actually tell the planter that we want to run within 30 pounds of force on the row unit, and what it will do is it will actually pick the row unit up if we are full of seed. Now, this is not a high-speed kit that we're putting on. You cannot put under, from what I understand, you cannot put the high-speed row units or the high-speed kit on a box planter. In other words, on a planter that has the hoppers on there. It's a different unit altogether. So we didn't get the high speed, but we are getting everything else. So we'll get these row units picked off in there, then we'll put the new ones on. Everything, like I said, is new from the toolbar back. However, there's different wiring. There is it's a whole different animal. The row units are going to be controlled with an electric motor. It's going to have an electric motor for each individual row. On this planter, we could run one side of the planter at one population and the other side of the planter at a different population. It has hydraulic drive motors, one on each side of the planter. There's one right here, which I've got the chains cut. They're on the floor. Counter shaft ran across the planter. That motor did this side of the planter. This motor over here does the left side of the planter. The way I understand it with these electric motors, as far as I know, I could be wrong, I think that you can control each row to plant at a specific population. If you can't do one row individually, you'll be able to set it up in different zones on the planter. There might be as many as 4 or something, whereas this one only has it set for 2. Like if I got planting up next to the woods or something, I would cut the population on my right-hand side so that the right-hand side of the planter wasn't dropping as much seed as the left, or you could change it to do the whole planter, and you could do that right on the fly. You could do it right while you're planting, hit the monitor, and go with it that way. So we are going to come back at you tomorrow. We ended up removing all the closing wheels as well, because we're running a spiked tooth closing wheel. And when I ordered this kit, it came with new closing wheel frames, but it does not have the wheels on them. We did get row cleaners. There's row cleaners in that box there. We've got a fertilizer pump here. All of these boxes here are the hoppers. There was 30, I believe there's 33 boxes in all, and I don't know if I showed it earlier on in this video or not, but I was unloading this stuff and I wanted the guys to kind of set this stuff out in the order in which we were going to put it on the planter, or kind of best organize it the way we could. And I said, I want to know where that generator is. They said, we found it. So it's this big box here. They opened it up and look at what we have inside here. This is a shear kernel processor. It is an 11-inch. It's got 11-inch rolls. This is a big behemoth here. A lot of money sitting right in this box here, and it accidentally got loaded onto the parts that we have going on the corn planter. So we've got to get this back to them. I would have to say this is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $35,000. and it goes on a 9900 chopper that is not even in the area yet or at the dealer. So we'll have to make sure we get this back to them. It's a slightly different design roller mill than what we are currently using. It's supposed to be the top of the line. It has cuts going horizontal, and then I don't know if you'd call it vertical too, but it's supposed to have a ripping and tearing process to the corn silage. That's why they call it a shear. Shear is its own separate company, and I don't know if they build them for other choppers or not, but I think they do. They build them for everybody, I believe. So they are working in conjunction with John Deere to have this compatible to go into the 9000 series chopper. So we better get at it here so we can get back at it tomorrow, right? All right, we'll come back at you tomorrow, folks. All right, we are pulling the units off as we go. We started on the right-hand side and we've worked our way across here. We've got 3 left to get. We just got things strapped to the fork here. We've got our U-bolts loosened up. The nuts have been taken off of them. So we just back away, rock that a little bit, and it's as easy as that. We need a slightly bigger shop here. We have got tight quarters, or we have tight quarters getting in and around. We've got to watch our fork that we don't hit the tank, the rear tank, and we've got to make sure we don't take out that hose reel there. And we very tightly go around this corner, make sure we don't graze the door. And then we've got our carcasses sitting here right next to the door. So once we get to the point where we can start putting the new ones on, we're gonna bolt these old ones together. Watch it, that's just balancing against that one. Pull that strap off. What we're gonna do is we're going to bolt them to the brackets that the new ones have on them, and just put them right in the same crates that the new ones came out of. And we're gonna hold on to these for a season or two anyways, just so that if we have any issues, we've got some parts to source. But we don't think we're gonna need those, but there is some good components on them, not much, but if anybody needs anything, let me know, because we've got a pile of somewhat good used parts here, some wiring harnesses that go down to the seed tube and stuff like that. The rest of the components are pretty well shot, but now we've got 2 left to get, and we're going to get these off of here, and then we're going to start putting the new ones on. These ones are going to be a little tighter to get, a little harder to get off, because I have tight quarters here. So we're going to keep after it here. Well, this is the last one. Why don't you run the... You want to run the camera? You could run the camera. Probably going to need 14 hands on this, though, to get it guided off of here, because we're kind of cockeyed here. That's that. Let's back up a ways. Let's see, we've got to get a little more over there.
You guys are like so funny. You're like so funny.
Now we get to put the new ones on, right?
Yay.
Alright, so we're gonna have to get the new ones drug over. And I believe they gave us new U-bolts as well. So I've got to find a box that has the hardware in it. If not, we'll just use the old ones.
Oh yeah.
So, can I pull them over here? I don't know if I can get them with a pallet jack or not. I'm going to try it. That would be handier. With a pallet jack. Alright, now we've got all 16 units off of what you would call the toolbar, I guess. We've got to go through and pull all of our old U-bolts off. I think, if I remember right from what I seen in the boxes over there, they gave us new U-bolts. So before we get the new ones out, we're going to leave the mark. We're not going to touch the top of the toolbar here, but we're just going to rub this dirt off here so that when we put the new one on, it doesn't come up against this dirt. However, we want to use this mark here from the old U-bolts, but come to think of it, I probably better measure the angle iron bracket that is on there to make sure they're at the same width, because if they're not, we're going to have to go off of center. So we're going to dig the new ones out here, get them over here, and start putting the new units on there. So we've got some things to do here first, and then we'll join back up with you again here once we start throwing the new ones on.
We need our U-bolts.
All right, so this one's gonna go in a little harder than all of the other ones just because we can't get quite straight with it, but they are manageable enough to be able to kind of get it there. We'll set the U-bolts in, get that one hung, and we'll work on down the line here until we get all 16 on. And then what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll put the closing wheel frames on. And then we'll put the row cleaner unit on the front. And then once all of that is done, now I'm going to repeat myself because I'm going to tell you again during this next part of the video, maybe 3 segments from now, that we are putting the closing wheel frames on and that we are putting the openers on. That is going to mean that I'm going to repeat that. We are just giving you a heads up on the steps that we are going to take. Therefore, it's going to involve some repetition in how I'm describing what is going on. So I have said it, and I'm going to say it again. We're going to put the closing wheels on the back side here, and then we're going to put the row cleaners up front. So for those of you that are keeping track of the repetition and the amount of comments, or not the comments, but the steps that we go along here, well, you can keep track. So we'll get these mounted, and then we'll touch base with you once we get a little more done here than what we have. But what there is a bracket that is mounted to the pallet that we're going to go ahead and put all the old units on, because there isn't really anything that we can use this stuff for. Hopefully they don't want that back, but it is what it is, right? Right. Well, we've got all of the new units themselves on the planter, and Sarah's going through now and mounting the bracket on that holds the hopper. So we ran into a situation yesterday where after we had mounted a couple, I realized that it said, like this one for example, R03, that's row 3. And this one says row 4. And then this one says row 1. Row 2. Row 7, 8, so on. We don't have a row 5 and a row 6, and rows 13, 14, 15, and 16 did not come. We have duplicates of a few rows here. Like this is row 11 here, and we already have a row 11 right there. So apparently we should be okay with that. They'll just have to reflash the brain mechanism here so that the monitor knows which row is which. So we're going to cross that road when we get to it, and there's the grinder again. Got to get rid of that frickin' grinder. So we have to hook up a few items here, and then we got to start tearing some more things off so that we can hook up the rest of what is going on here. But she gets the brackets on there. We're going to hold off on putting the hoppers on there. We've got all of the old units here outside. We're not really sure what we're going to do with these other than maybe holding on to them and having them available if anybody needs any parts. I don't know exactly if these hoppers are exactly the same as what we took off or not. We do have like this gauge wheel here, that's new. All the other ones are old. I don't know how many new gauge wheels I do have on here, but the rest of them have quite a few acres on them. So we're going to keep at it, and while we're working on the corn planter, these guys are going to be working on this 6,000 gallon noon tanker. They've got to put some new injector tips on. They're going to put new boots on here, and then we got to make up a tab to hold this boot away from the actual tip itself. We run into issues, and we made some brackets for the other one. You kind of see that hose there has moved itself, and what'll happen is this boot will get out of the trench just from the hose wiggling it back and forth. So we put a piece of flat bar in there to keep the boot in one position. So we'll show you what that looks like once they get a few new parts on here. Well, we are, I shouldn't say slowly moving along. Sarah's getting more done than I'm getting done. I'm putting the vacuum tubes on these row units here. I've started on this outside row, and I'm working towards the center, but I ended up helping them guys on the spreader for a little bit here. She's got the brackets all on there for the hoppers. Now she's putting the closing wheel frames on. She's only got, well, she's got 3 left, so she's using a pail to hold it up on there, and then she's getting a 16 millimeter bolt threaded in there. And she's got quite a few of them on there, and quite a few empty boxes as well. So once we get the vac tubing all hooked up, then we can start figuring out what hoses that we need to start pulling. We've got to take off the drive motors yet for the seed drive. Those are those motors there. We've got to get those off, get all the hoses off of there, and then we've just got to start picking and choosing what's got to be left on the planter and what has to come off. So it's starting to look like a planter again, huh? Yeah. You're probably aching to throw them hoppers on too, and I don't want to put them on yet, unless we just put all the hoppers on and say, oh, we're done. We do have to go through and torque our U-bolts. Our row units are on, they're different heights. Some of them are tight. The other ones are just kind of hanging there. But you seen when we were setting up the last couple here last night, we had one or two of them that were a real mongrel to put on, and all the other ones, they just kind of fell into place. We didn't really measure anything. We just ran the U-bolt right in the old spot that the other one was in, and then kind of used the marks that the row unit left on the frame itself. I just ended up ordering some closing wheels from Schaefer. We're going to put the toothed closing wheels on this. I did not order this kit with closing wheels. So usually when you get a planter from John Deere, they send it with the rubber wheels. And we have had, so far, pretty good luck with the toothed closing wheel. So she's getting another one set up here. She's got a little bit of a trick to it. It's a little easier. Use a 5-gallon pail. Get it held up into place. And then thread the front bolt in. Now that we've got the camera going, it probably won't fall into place as easy as it usually does. But she did that other one while I was jaw jacking. You got the one bolt in already? Wow. We need a bigger planter. Just think how much easier this would be if you had 8 more to do.
I know.
You know? Yeah, we need a bigger shop for sure. We had just enough room to scoot around the planter to get in and around it with the forklift here. And yeah. That's the only, well, you could say maybe that's the only reason why we don't have a bigger planter. We don't have a shop big enough to put it in. Yeah. All right. She's got that one up on there. Now once you get all these on there, you got to go down through with a bigger tool and torque all of those.
One thing at a time.
Yeah, one thing at a time is right. So all that nice shiny green paint. Well, I better get to it. I'm wasting time here. Well, we are slowly putting this chisel plow back together. We ended up getting a couple of these shanks back, or a couple of these spring packs back, where we had the steel bushing machined. The machine shop did it. They machined the spring pack and then they put a steel bushing in there opposed to the plastic ones that are a problem. So we've got 6 springs back from him, and then there's pieces of a plastic one there, and this is what the new plastic bushings look like. And then I'll drop a I'll show you what that spring pack looks like. If I can get this open. There, that's a little better. We got this open now. That's what these plastic ones look like. And the steel ones, he's got probably twice as thick as these, and they look just the same. So we've got a couple more to put on this chisel plow here. We've got that one that we're putting on. I put on, oh, which one was it? This one here. You can see the metal bushing in there. I put that one on. And then, like I said, we've got a couple more to put on here. So we are going to keep at it. Need to get this tractor pulled around so you can get some more air going in. Yeah. So we are taking a little intermission from the corn planter currently. So are you all excited to do some chisel plowing, or would you rather work on the corn planter? Chisel plow, yeah. Okay, I gotta go get some U-bolts up in the hay barn, so I'll be right back. Well, we've got this chisel plow ready to go. However, this old girl needs some wind in the tires. Been squatting a little bit, been sitting all winter. And some of the air is squeaked out of the tires here, so Sarah's just going through and topping them off. Probably get another year out of these tires, I'm thinking. We ended up putting 2 on it when we got it. I think there was just 2. These Firestone tires here I ended up buying from my uncle when they didn't put 2 on the back too, did they?
The back ones are good.
No, they're the original ones. But we ended up putting 2 of these on when we bought the tractor here. It's been 3 years. This is the 3rd year.
Yeah.
3rd year on it. So we'll get through this year with these tires. They only got to cost, I don't know, around $30-some thousand to put tires on her. But we're changing some hydraulic filters now. The RE577612, is it? Let's see if I can get this number right here. But these filters have been on back order for quite a while here. RE577612. So this tractor takes 4, I believe. And we're going to go ahead and get them on here. We ended up changing hydraulic oil on all these, most of the tractors anyway, this winter. And this one has been sitting since we did that, and it needs filters changed. We ended up picking up 10 of these filters, which this tractor is going to take 4, like I said. And these filters are like, if I remember right, they're $90-some a piece, so there's just shy of $1,000 sitting right here. So we're going to get this ready to go so that it can start turning dirt here when the weather straightens up. We've got a storm front moving in. We're getting some sprinkles right now, and we kind of need this put together so that if we run into a situation where we got manure running where it's not supposed to, we can get out in it and correct the problem. So we're going to get back on this corn planter here momentarily after we get this thing completely ready to go. All right, right now we're putting the row cleaners on, and they bolt to the front of the unit itself. We started on row 16 and we've moved down to row 1. We've got 2 left to do. So I'll show you what that process looks like. We're using the forklift to drop a strap down through, hook onto the row unit or the cleaner, pull that up into place, get a couple of bolts put in. We move on to the next one. We are getting to, well, we're going to close out this video in a minute here after we get the last 2 row cleaners hooked up. And we'll have to count our crates. We're getting down to the last few. There are 33 in all. This is box 1 of 33. And we are working on what box now?
Almost 21. They're all different.
Yeah, they're all different. So 21, 22 of 33. So we've got a couple of other large components to put on. One of them being the actual fertilizer pump itself. We'll get that on here tomorrow. That'll be in the next episode, right? Next episode. So we'll show you what it looks like putting the last couple row units on. So does anybody want to guess what this contraption here is? You know, I don't know if most of you probably already know what it is, but this came today. We've been waiting for this for a while. So let's show you what things look like putting these row cleaners on. We'll set you guys up over here. We've got a strap neatly set down in between the brains of the unit here and the hydraulic little unit that does the hydraulic downforce. We hook the unit on, hook the row cleaner on, pull it up into place. Sarah jabs a couple of bolts in it, and then we move on to the next one. So we'll kind of set you guys up over here, and we'll kind of show you what that looks like here. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, we got all 15 on there. We were going to show you putting 2 on, but Sarah opened the last box, and all there was is 1 in it. So we'll get this let down, we'll go over, we'll count the boxes to give you an idea how many crates we have left. I think we're down to like 6 or 8. We'll kind of explain to you what we have left to do here. And then we're going to close out this video. Get this down. That strap has been real handy. And we use the forklift to install the every row unit and all of the row cleaners. Sarah put the hopper holder on there, and then the closing wheel frames. We've got to tighten them up yet. We're going to use, now I'm going to be repeating myself here, so we're going to use a spiked tooth Schaefer, I think it's called a Mohawk or something like that, closing wheel, just like we had. Well, I could show you what they look like. I didn't want to put the ones that came off of the other units here because I wanted to start out this year with some new ones. So these are Schaefer. I think they're called Mohawks or something. We've had pretty good luck with them. We've run them for a couple of years now. So I've got to get with the guys at Kaz and have them order me another row cleaner. But we've got the hoppers here that we've got to put on, which we're not going to put those on until we get everything else done. But we've got the fertilizer pump mechanism there. We'll kind of show you where that goes. But before we do that, We'll kind of show you Jared's pintle hook here. Come out really well. He's wiring in some lights now, and he's got to get the fifth wheel on it. He's still waiting for some parts as far as the wheels and the brakes and stuff like that go. So if you recall in the previous videos when we kind of described what was going on here, he wanted to put a pintle hook on it. The frame was kind of short, so he cut the frame section out of the Freightliner that he's got, and he stuffed it into this frame here, and now he's got a pintle hook on there. So we've got the fertilizer, the variable rate fertilizer pump here that's going to mount onto the corn planter, and they have that set up to mount right where this John Blue pump or Blue John, whatever you call that, it's going to mount right here. If anybody is looking for, if anybody is interested in any of these parts that we have taken off, let me know. This apparatus here is coming off. This is the surface drive wheel assembly to run this Blue John Blue. I don't know what the heck they call that. What do they call this? Doesn't really matter. But we're going to be taking all this off, and then that hydraulically driven fertilizer pump is going to mount right here off of this frame, and it's going to kind of sit over the top of the wheel. It's not going to be driven from the surface drive wheel here. Like I said, repeating myself here, it's going to be hydraulic driven. So that is just about going to do it for this segment of the upgrade to the planter here. We've got everything that we've put on it. We've got to tighten up yet. Probably the hardest job was putting the vacuum unit brackets back on. We put all that on here, got that setting into place, just kind of how it was setting up on the previous version. I was going to give you a count on these crates. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then this pack of pallets here in boxes is, wait a minute, we might have 9. We got 9. We've got 9 pallets that have goodies in them, and we have, out of 33, we have 33 minus 1, 2, 3, 30, 9. We've went through 21 pallets already. Is that right? 21, 9, yeah. We went through 19 or 20. So that is going to do it. Tomorrow we can get that fertilizer pump off. That'll be fun. And then we'll kind of explain what else we have to do. We have to take off the old wire harness too. So the wire harness that strings down through the corn planter, that's all coming off. The fertilizer hoses here, this is the in-furrow unit. That's staying. All of this stuff is coming off. We've got to take the hydraulic drive motors that went for the seed drive. That's got to come off of there. And then we start in with the new wiring harness and the new hydraulic hoses that go to the row units themselves. We're running pneumatic downforce or pneumatic force for the row cleaners, so we're going to utilize the air compressor that's still on the corn planter. We've got to put a different manifold and a different control mechanism on that so that it will run the row cleaners, because we're going to have the ability to put them up and down with the, I think. Can you raise them up and down? I think, I'm assuming that's what the air function is for, because there's Yeah, I might be wrong. It might not have the ability to raise them up. I don't know. We've got to research that. So that is going to do it for this video, folks. I want to thank you for watching. And we will catch you at the next one. Right? Yeah. Take it easy, folks.